At 69 years old, I rented out my deceased son's apartment to a woman named Crystal who seemed desperate for housing. She paid the first month's rent, then stopped paying completely. When I tried to evict her, she filed false complaints claiming I was harassing her, sued me for discrimination, and declared squatters' rights. She thought an elderly widow wouldn't have the energy to fight a legal battle. She was wrong. I'm a retired paralegal who spent 30 years in landlord-tenant law. This is the story of how I legally destroyed a professional squatter. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you never miss revenge stories like this. My name is Ruth Henderson, and I'm 69 years old. 5 years ago, my son David died in a car accident. He was only 42, and losing him destroyed me. David had owned a small rental property, a 2-bedroom apartment in Portland that generated income. After David died, I inherited the property. I kept it as a rental because the income helped supplement my retirement. I'd had good tenants for years, quiet, paid on time, no problems. Then Crystal Morgan responded to my rental listing. She was 38, said she'd recently divorced and needed a fresh start. She had references, a decent credit score, and seemed responsible. "I just need a stable place for me and my daughter," Crystal said during our meeting. "I promise I'll be a great tenant." I felt sympathy for her situation, a single mother trying to rebuild her life. I signed the lease. She paid first month's rent and security deposit. Everything seemed fine. Then month 2 came. No rent payment. I called Crystal. "Oh, I'm so sorry, my paycheck was delayed. I'll have it to you by next week." Week came and went. No payment. I called again. "Ruth, I'm going through a hard time. Can I pay half now and half later?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. She paid half. The other half never came. Month 3, 4, 5, no rent payments. Crystal always had excuses. Her job cut her hours. Her daughter was sick. Her car broke down. I tried to be understanding, but I was losing thousands of dollars. When I finally told Crystal I needed to start eviction proceedings, she became hostile. "You can't evict me. I have rights. You're just a greedy old landlord." That's when the real nightmare began. Crystal filed a complaint with the city claiming I was harassing her by asking for rent. She claimed I'd entered her apartment without notice. I hadn't. She claimed I'd shut off her utilities. I hadn't. She hadn't paid the bills. Then she stopped answering my calls entirely. When I went to the property to leave eviction notices, she'd have her boyfriend there to intimidate me. "The old lady's here again," he'd say loudly. "Should I call the cops for trespassing?" I consulted a lawyer. "Mrs. Henderson, Crystal is what we call a professional squatter. She knows exactly how to manipulate the system. This could take months to resolve." "How can she just live there for free?" "Because Portland has very tenant-friendly laws. Even with non-payment, eviction takes time, and she's filing every complaint she can to delay the process." Crystal then sued me for discrimination, claiming I was trying to evict her because she was a single mother. Completely false, but it delayed the eviction another 3 months while the discrimination claim was investigated. During this time, Crystal wasn't just living rent-free. She was destroying my property. Neighbors reported loud parties. The apartment was being damaged, and Crystal was bragging on social media about gaming the system and living rent-free. I was 69 years old, on a fixed income, and losing 7 months of rent plus legal fees. I felt helpless. Then I remembered something. I'm not just an elderly widow. I'm a retired paralegal who specialized in landlord-tenant law for 30 years. Crystal had picked the wrong landlord to scam. I started documenting everything, every missed payment, every false complaint, every violation of the lease terms. I photographed damage to the property. I collected statements from neighbors about the noise and parties. Then I did deep research on Crystal. What I found was explosive. Crystal Morgan was a professional tenant scammer. Over the past 8 years, she'd done this to 5 other landlords in 3 different states. She'd move in, pay first month's rent, then stop paying while filing false complaints to delay eviction. She'd live rent-free for 6 to 12 months, destroy the property, then move on to the next victim. I found court records showing previous evictions. I found online posts where she gave advice on how to exploit tenant protection laws. I even found a forum where she bragged about taking advantage of stupid landlords. I compiled everything into a massive evidence file. Then I hired an aggressive attorney who specialized in fraud cases, not just eviction law. We filed a lawsuit against Crystal for fraud, lying on her rental application, theft, living without paying rent, property damage, filing false complaints, violating tenant responsibilities. But I didn't stop there. I reported her to the police for fraud. I reported her false complaints to the city as perjury. I contacted her previous landlords and got them to testify about her pattern of behavior. Crystal thought she was playing me. She had no idea I was building a case that would destroy her. The eviction hearing finally came. Crystal showed up with a sob story about being a struggling single mother, unfairly targeted by a rich landlord. Then my attorney presented our evidence. Bank records showing 7 months of non-payment, photos of property damage, neighbour testimony about wild parties and noise violations, police reports about disturbances. But the most damaging evidence was Crystal's own social media posts. She'd literally posted, "Another month rent-free. These stupid landlords don't know how to fight back." The judge was not amused. "Ms. Morgan, you've been living rent-free in Mrs. Henderson's property for 7 months while deliberately filing false complaints to delay eviction. You've caused significant property damage, and you've bragged about exploiting the system. I'm not only granting the eviction, I'm awarding Mrs. Henderson damages." Crystal was ordered to leave immediately, pay back rent totaling $9,500, pay for property damages estimated at $12,000, and pay my legal fees of $8,000. Total judgment, $31,500. Crystal's face went white. "I don't have that kind of money." "Then you'll be on a payment plan for the rest of your life," the judge said. "And if you try this scam again, I'm forwarding this case to the prosecutor for criminal charges." But I wasn't done. I'd contacted a local investigative reporter who'd been doing stories on tenant fraud. She was very interested in Crystal's case. The story ran on local news. Professional squatter exposed. Woman scams multiple landlords. Crystal's face was on TV. Her pattern of fraud was documented. Other landlords she'd scammed came forward. Crystal couldn't find housing anywhere. Every landlord did a background check and found the news story. She couldn't get a job because employers Googled her name and found the fraud reports. The police also opened a criminal investigation based on my evidence. Crystal was charged with fraud and theft by deception. She pleaded guilty to avoid prison time and was sentenced to 2 years probation with restitution requirements. She also can't rent property without disclosing her criminal record. Crystal's life was destroyed. And I made sure every landlord in Portland knew her name and face. It took me 14 months total to get Crystal out and get justice. It cost me money, time, and stress. But I won. The property damage was repaired. I found a wonderful new tenant who pays on time and takes care of the place. I got my rent income back. Most importantly, I stopped Crystal from scamming more people. After the news story aired, 3 other victims contacted me. We formed a group to warn landlords about professional squatters and share strategies for fighting back. I also started giving workshops at landlord associations about how to spot and stop tenant scammers. I share Crystal's case as a warning. Document everything, I tell landlords. Know the law. Don't let anyone intimidate you because of your age. I'm 69 years old, and I destroyed a professional scammer half my age. Crystal still owes me $31,500. Her wages are being garnished. She'll be paying me for years. I'm 69 years old. I'm a retired paralegal. I'm a widow who lost her son too young. And I'm a landlord who fought back against a scammer who thought my age made me an easy target. Crystal learned that elderly doesn't mean weak. It means I have decades of legal experience that she couldn't match.